yard sale all day long. If you remember a couple weeks ago, my husband and I had a yard sale, and so we were still trying to sell some of the same junk. I mean, wonderful treasures that everyone would love to have in their home. Anyway, yeah, we were over at our daughter's house having this yard sale because their entire town does a big yard sale and, you know, has like old-fashioned days type of thing. So we were sitting over there, which is why my cheeks are red. I got a little bit of sun, and I came home and grabbed a shower, so my hair is still drying, so just please ignore my droopy wet hair tonight. It has been a fun week. It's been exciting. The dishcloth pattern that I released last week, and it is for free. It is called the Mitered Lace Dishcloth, and you can download it off of Ravelry for free. But I had 169 downloads of that pattern just this week since it was released. In fact, for 4 days in a row, it was like number 4 or 5 out of 14,000 different dishcloths that were up on Ravelry at the time. So that was really, really exciting. So if you downloaded a pattern, I really appreciate it. And yeah, I was excited about that. So I did have one person ask a question. They said they liked the color. That was when Nita mentioned that she liked the color of the yellow and the blue and the white. I don't remember what the dye lot or if it even had a color name to it. I bought the yarn. It is 100% cotton, and I got it at Joann's. It is Lily's Sugar and Cream, and it is the super size. The super size yarn, I think it runs something like $2.99 or $3.99 for the entire skein, but you will get 3 dishcloths out of that, and I actually used a 40% off coupon, so I think I paid about $2 and something for it. So yeah, so that's the yarn that I used, and like I said, if you buy the super size Sugar and Cream, not the great big cone, but it's just, I think it's called super size. It's not the little teeniest one, it's not the real big one, it's the in between size. You'll get 3 dishcloths, and you'll still have a little bit left over. Not enough to make another dishcloth, but maybe enough to make, like, you know, a small little coaster, something like that. So thank you again for all of you who downloaded a pattern, and it, like I said, it is up on Ravelry. If you want one, go for it. It's there. So yeah. Anyway, I will just jump right in. Oh, my yard sale. You should have seen my husband and I packing up the car. You know, we have the new car that we just bought. Well, there was no way we were loading all this stuff into our brand new car. So we loaded it into my car that I use for work. Now, I have a Toyota Yaris, and that is smaller than a Toyota Corolla. It's like almost a foot smaller than a Corolla, so it's little. And we had all this stuff stuffed into the car was probably groaning going down the road. We had the trunk packed, the back seat packed. I was sitting in the passenger seat with things on my lap, and then I decided to put the Christmas tree into the car as well. I felt like, if you ever watched How the Grinch Stole Christmas and he stuffs the tree up the chimney, that's what my husband's like, it's not going to fit in the car. I mean, we're not talking great big full tree. It's only like, it's kind of a scrawny, spindly looking tree. It's rustic is what it was called. But anyway, it was a small little tree. It was about 6 feet tall, but it breaks in half. And then I broke it in half, and I sort of like the Grinch stuffed it into the car, except I couldn't quite it was sticking out the window. We were driving down the road with part of a Christmas tree hanging out the back of our car window. But it was funny. It was the very first thing somebody bought. And even the guy who bought it said, I bet you never thought this would sell. And I was like, yeah, you got it right there. I didn't expect that to be the first thing somebody would take. It was amazing. Some people took things that I really did not expect them to take. I had a stand that holds one of those mirror balls. Yeah, it isn't even mine. I got it at an auction. I bought some pocketbooks at an auction, and they threw it in because nobody else wanted it, and it's been sitting in my garage for years. Somebody actually bought it for $1. Yeah, I have no clue what they're going to do with it. I just am happy that it's out of my house and into somebody else's. So that was our yard sale. So now I will get on with the knitting. Last week I showed you some yarn that I had over dyed because I didn't like the first dye job that I did on the yarn, so I over dyed it. And I wasn't crazy about this one skein of yarn because the purple kind of looked a little muddy looking. It just kind of looked a little grayish brown, and I wasn't happy with it. And it was funny, Kathy Tinkler, and she and I chat back and forth on YouTube quite a bit. She challenged me this week. She wrote down in the comments, she said, "I know you won't let it rest until you come up with a solution." She is so right. I couldn't let it rest. I was like, what can it hurt? If at first you don't succeed, dye again. So we did, and I am much, much happier. It still has a little bit of the muddy color right here, but it's, you can see it. It's not horrible though. I can live with that. So, and it's still, there's still a little bit of it right here. You can see kind of this kind of purpley color, but the rest of it I like. I really like this orange kind of color in here, kind of autumny color. So yeah, I can live with this now. It's got some green in it. I'm not quite sure how I didn't put green in it, but it's kind of a goldy green color kind of color. So yeah. So that's how it turned out. So thank you, Kathy. You prompted me to just try it again. I thought, what's the worst that can happen? I could not like it and then dye it a fourth time. It's not like it's going to like hurt anything at this point, because this is just going in my cozy memory blanket. So it was a chance to experiment a little bit. So yeah, but I do like I said, I do like this color right here, this autumn color. Real happy with that. So that was one project that I did. That's the only finished object that I have. I've been working on my Yexa shawl. I'm this close to being done, but I didn't finish it. I'm very close. So next week it will probably be finished, but I'll show you that one later. There was a shawl I was designing, and I've been showing it to you and asking you all to name it. I ripped it all out. The more I looked at it, I was not happy with it. It was too long and narrow, and I was just afraid it would come off looking like a tail. I wanted it to be a thicker, wider shawl than that. I didn't want it to be a narrow little thing. So I'm back to the drawing board. This is the beginning of it. So it's the same yarn and everything. I just am making it wider here, because before it kind of came up like this across. So a lot of this was missing, and it was long, and it just wasn't real wide. It was gaining one stitch and losing a stitch, gaining 2 stitches and losing 1 stitch at the other end. And as a result, it was taking a long time to start getting wide. And I didn't want a huge shawl, because I don't want that much material, because if you get overly big shawls and you try to wrap them around you, you end up like, looking like you've got a giant marshmallow wrapped under your neck. So I ripped it out, and I'm going more. This is, my husband and I debated. I kept thinking this was called a scalene triangle. It's not. He kept saying, no, it's a right triangle. And he's right. This is considered a right triangle because it has a right angle, has a 90-degree angle. So, yeah, it's still going to have a lot of the components the other one did. It's going to look very similar to what the other one did. It's just going to be wider. It's going to start getting wider faster. So that's all the further I got with that, because like I said, ripped the whole thing out. So 7 pages worth of pattern notes right down into the trash can. But I knew I wouldn't be happy with it, and I didn't want to release something that I wasn't real satisfied with, because if I don't like it, I probably won't wear it. And I certainly don't want to give it to somebody if I don't like it myself. So anyway, ended up ripping it out. So then next, you will remember we did the unboxing of Knitology together last week, and I was not overly excited with the results. That's the only one I have not been real happy with, and I've come to the conclusion I'm going to give them another month and see if this is, this is the 3rd box. The other 2 I've been happy with. This one is not. I'm not a big worsted weight person to begin with, and this was in worsted weight, and it was in a strange color. And I remember saying at the time, it's called Groovy, and I said it kind of reminds me of my husband's tie-dye shirt. And then I read a thing in there, and I thought it said August colors. it didn't. It was saying it's the autumn box. I think I was taking too much cold medicine last week. I made all kinds of mistakes, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. So anyway, I thought, what am I going to do with this yarn? There's, between the two skeins, because it's worsted weight, there's only a little over 300 yards. So I thought, what can I do with this? Then I remembered, this was a book that I showed last week that I had to laugh at when Peg M pointed out. She says, you know, here I am talking about it going up and going over. And, you know, you're going to knit it from the up and go over. And she says, didn't it say on the book that it was a top down? I was like, duh. Yes, it did. Yes, like I said, too much cold medicine last week. So this is a top down sweater. And so I am doing the yoke, you do going this direction, going vertical. And then, I'm not sure because I haven't gotten into the pattern far enough, this portion of it, I think you pick up stitches and start knitting down, is my guess, but I haven't looked at it closely. So the yoke up here, though, is where you start, and it is knit. It's not knit in the round so you don't have steeking or anything like that. You actually knit it flat, and then you're going to put it together. So, guess what I did with this yarn? This is the Knitology yarn that was called Groovy. And the more I read about it, when I finally found the note in the bottom of the box, it said its colors reminiscent of the 60s and 70s. Not so much. The only colors in here that remind me of the 60s and the 70s is the orange and the gold. My parents had gold shag carpet throughout their whole house in the early 70s. And our next door neighbor had orange carpet in their house and orange countertops. And if you remember watching the Brady Bunch, they had orange countertops in their kitchen too. I would not want them in mine. But anyway, that is the color Groovy. Like I said, I'm still not crazy about it. Although my daughter loved it. I was knitting this while we were at the yard sale because I didn't have to think too much. Because thinking is a challenge apparently for me lately. And she goes, oh, I really like that color. It's like, you do? My daughter's an interior designer, so yes, she likes these colors, so I guess I should like these colors. They do look better when they're knitted up. This is how far I've gotten with the yoke so far. Now this, you'll see I've got stitch markers. See, it doesn't look too bad when it's knitted up. I have a progress, right now it's all in garter stitch. So I have a little progress keeper on here just so I know the right side from the wrong side. Because the right side stitch is where you do your increases and the wrong side is just a straight knit across. So the stitch markers that are on this are for the front, the shoulder, which is where your arm's going to come, the back, the other shoulder, and then the other side of the front. So it just starts with a lot of increases. It starts at the neck, and then you just keep building increases, and then you're going to put stitch holders to do your arms and stuff. So you will break that part away later. So this is what it looks like knitted up, and I had quite a few people have the exact same idea that I did. The more I thought about this, and I started looking at what was in my stash, like I said, I don't have a whole lot of worsted weight, but I do have some cones of worsted weight yarn that I bought on vacation last year, that I'm going to the same place again this year, because it was a big warehouse and I got this yarn really cheap. So Mary Abdi, Kathy Tinkler, Louise Nauka, and Diane Luther and I all were thinking the same thing. What if I put this with something? So, remember the bottom of the sweater? I think this is going to look perfect together. I couldn't believe it. It is like the same color of gold that is in there. So the solid gold is going to be the bottom part of the sweater, and the yoke is going to be in this. So I actually think I'm going to like it a lot when it's done. If I have enough left over, I might put pockets on, like in this color, on the gold. So, yeah. Let me get a little bit closer. There you go, so you can see it. So I'm real happy with how that looks. So I'm liking the yarn a little bit better. than I did last week, which is a good thing. But I'm still I'm gonna see what next month brings with Knitology and then go from there. Because I would rather get like fingering or sock weight yarn than worsted weight. So, because 300 yards is kind of an odd amount to do anything with. You know, it's not like enough to make a shawl. It's pretty much what you're going to need to make like maybe a scarf or a cowl, something like that. So, with this combined, I don't have another cone of this yet. I bought this. It's not real soft, I will be honest with you. It's not something you'd want to wear against your skin, but since this is a cardigan, it's not going to matter. It is 100% wool. You had to buy these in 2-pound lots, and they were, I think it was $8 a pound. So for $16, you got 2 pounds of yarn. And as you can see, this is just 1 pound. I've got a whole other cone of this over on the shelf. So for $16, I'm probably going to have enough here to make a sweater for me and have quite a bit left over. So I can make sweaters for my entire family by the time I'm finished. So that is what I'm going to do with the Knitology. Now we're on to the Yeksa shawl. I'm going to say it right yet. Here is what the pattern looks like. That's the picture. It is by Janine McCarty, and she gifted me a free copy, and then she gifted one of you a free copy as well. So I'm going to show you what mine looks like so far, and then I'm going to announce the winner. I had really hoped I would get this finished this week, but I'm like down to the last section, and I didn't get it done. So let me take it out of the ball here. I'm really going to be playing yarn chicken at the end, but I think it's pretty. Now hers is a 2-color shawl. Mine is a 3-color, and I'm halfway through a row here, so I can't show you totally. Let's see if I can hold this back some. It looks really, really neon yellow. This is not, it's gold. It just looks really, really bright in the color, in the lighting. So the top half here is kind of a foresty green, and it's just autumn colors. And then it moves down to this brown. And then it has, this is kind of an orangey gold color. It's not neon the way it's showing up. And right now I'm back into that kind of forest green. And it has the same browns in it that are up in the other brown. So this is all I've got left of the forest green color. So I am definitely going to be playing yarn chicken because I combined, it calls for, I think it's 500 yards. And I had about 600 yards initially, but the brown yarn is a little bit thinner than the Koigu. Let's see if I can get this to look the right color. The lighting is horrible. Anyway, it's a little bit closer, but this is a lot thicker than this. So I've actually been doubling the brown. As a result, I'm pushing it with being very, very close to the 500 yards. So hopefully I can get it done. So on to our winner here. I did use random.org. We had 16 entries, and the way I did it was I took it from both videos where I announced the giveaway. So it was from last week's and from this last week's and the Thursday before. I did 2 podcasts. I did a Thursday and a Saturday last week. And so I took anyone who commented in either of those videos got entered. So we had a total of 16 entries. And the winner was number 2. And her name is Jocelyn Prieto. So, let's see if you can see. There it is. Jocelyn Prieto. And Jocelyn, if you would contact me in Ravelry and let me know your Ravelry name, I will let Janine know and she can get a pattern out to you. So, and if you would happen to do this shawl, I did check, I think it's a $5 pattern. It is Janine McCarty. She has a podcast called Yarn and You, E-W-E, Yarn and You Girl. And it's a lot of fun. She also has a yarn shop that's online, and she is a pattern designer, and she also does some yarn dyeing as well. Hers looks better than mine. So anyway, if you check her out, she has the pattern available for $5. And you know, if you do ever do patterns that are patterns in Ravelry, don't forget to enter them in your project page and take a picture. That way what happens is if you post a picture, like all those dishcloths, if you guys make those dishcloths, take a picture and put it in your projects, in your Ravelry, and when it'll prompt you to ask what pattern you took the dishcloth or whatever, the shawl or whatever from. When you put that in there, it shows up on the pattern website. So that, like if you bought one of my banner unfurled patterns and you make it and you take a picture and you put it into the project page and you list what the pattern was, anybody who checks the banner unfurled pattern and looks will see not only the red, white, and blue one that I did and the turquoise and gray and the blue one that I did, but they're going to see everybody else's that is in there, which is kind of fun because it's kind of neat. People, not everybody can imagine what colors things are going to look like when they're finished. So if they see someone else's project, it gives them an idea. You know, another idea is like with the bendy arrow shawl. You know, I put mine in and mine was pink and gray, and then I looked through and I saw some of the other colors and it's like, oh, that's what it would look like in this color, or that's what it would look like in this color. So it's always helpful to other people because a lot of times people have a hard time imagining what a pattern will look like in another color other than what it shows on the pattern design. So yeah, don't forget to stick it in there. It's always fun to kind of browse around at patterns that you've done yourself. You know, if you've made not necessarily even designed a pattern, but if you've made a pattern, it's fun to see what other people have done with that same pattern and how different it can look with different colors. So just a little tip there. The next thing I was going to talk about, I bought last week, I told you I bought pom-pom makers, and I made a pom-pom. This is out of baby yarn. Not that I'm making anything for any babies. Nobody's expecting that I know of. But I wanted to try this with some yarn I had around the house. So, yeah, it was fun. I used this size. It's probably maybe 1.5 inches across. And the pom-pom is probably about 1.5 inches. I don't think it's quite 2 inches. Maybe 1.5 inches, 1 3/4, something like that. So I am going to put a tutorial up of how to make them. I got that off of eBay. The seller was You Are Nice, and I paid $2, I think $2.86 for it. I'm all about cheap. You know, you can spend a lot for pom-poms, but I don't do them all that often. I don't use them all that often, but when I do, this is a lot easier way than how I was trying to make them. So for $2.88 or 86 cents, I can do that. So I am going to put a tutorial, and I will stick it right about here. Okay, for this tutorial, you will need yarn, a pom-pom maker, and scissors. So here's what you're going to do. The pom-pom maker comes apart very carefully. You want to loosen it before you get started. So that it's not hard once you've got it full of yarn. So at least open it the first time. And then just gently put it back together again. And then the ends pop open. These two ends open here. And then these two open this way. What you're going to do is take your yarn and these ends, and you're going to start wrapping them just like this. You're going to do this to this side, and then you're going to clip your yarn, and you're going to do the same thing to the next side. So I'm going to skip ahead and show you once these are both filled. Okay, you can now see that I have both sides full. The more yarn you put on these ends here, the thicker your pom-pom is going to be. So you then take and you push these back into place. So they look like this once again. Kind of looks like a donut. And like I said, the more yarn you're able to load on these, the more bushier your pom-pom will be. Now you take some scissors. They have to be really sharp scissors. And you're going to, there's space right in between. Remember I pulled this apart before? There is a gap between these two joined sections. So you're going to work your scissors right through the notch, all the way around. You don't want to open it up or it's going to go everywhere. Now you can see that notch that I was cutting through right here. You then are going to take a long piece of yarn. You're going to put it right around, right through this notch, right like that. Right through the yarn of the joining spots here. Pull it around to the other notch so it's come all the way around. Sort of like a yo-yo. And then you're going to tie it. And you want to tie it as tightly as you can. So I tied it this direction, and then while I was holding it tight, I flipped it upside down, brought it back around, and then pulled it and tied it in a double knot going this direction. So again, you want to tie it and pull it as tightly as you can. And while you're still holding it, you want to make sure you get it tight so that none of your yarn pops, none of the little pieces that are cut come through it when you're done. Okay, now you open up these ends here and here and here and here, and this is when you take it apart. This is why I said I took it apart ahead of time, just so it didn't stick. And it's still sticking a little bit, but you can pull it apart, and then you fluff it up, and you'll have to trim some ends on it, you know, that look a little longer than others, but for the most part, it's pretty near perfect. So I'm just going to trim my little edges, and here, this is the tail for my pom-pom to attach it to anything. So there you go. And the set that I purchased has 4 different sizes. This is next to the largest size. So there is my pom-pom. Poms, because I thought, you know, where'd they come from? So I did a little searching around on the web, and I found out that pom-poms originated in the 1700s. They were from the French word pompon, P-O-M-P-O-N, and the Hungarian hussars, they were soldiers. They were cavalry, so they were on horses. Their uniforms had these tall hats, and they had like a plume on the top. And if you think about it, over in England, the queens, I think they're called grenadiers that are on the horses. They've got like the little plumes on the top too. That's where pom-poms started. And they actually were cited by like Napoleon's army. He kind of liked them too. And a lot of other armies in Europe. And they started using different colored plumes or poms on the top of the hats to make it easily recognizable as far as what rank a person was, or what regiment they were from. They had different colors for whatever, you know, regiment they were involved in or whatever. So, and in South America, men and women started using pom-poms on their garments and things to denote whether they were married or not. So I'm not sure what colors represented married, but yeah, so they started doing that. And then in Scotland, men wore berets, and they had on the little beret, they had like a little red pom-pom on the top. And pom-poms themselves became very popular during the Depression in the 1930s because they were an economical accessory that could be made out of leftover yarn to try to accessorize clothing and things like that. It wasn't like a tassel or something that was more expensive. They could make something look cute with just leftover yarn. So, and I got all this information from a website put out by Martha Stewart. So, yeah, I thought that was a little bit interesting just to kind of see where pom-poms came from. And they said that they originally were also used with cheerleaders. They started using pom-poms with cheerleaders. The original cheerleader pom-poms weren't like big and bushy. They were kind of made out of tissue paper, and then the tissue paper like would fall apart and pieces would go all over the place. And if they got wet, the dye started running down the girls' arms. That would not be good. So, yeah, so then they made them into whatever they're made out of today. I think they're made out of vinyl or something today. I don't even know, is there such things as pom-pom girls anymore? I have no idea. It's been a long time since I was in high school, and I homeschooled my kids, so they wouldn't know either. But yeah, so that's the history of the pom-pom. I just have one other short segment. I was going to show you what I bought this week. It's not much, but I was at my yarn store on Thursday night for my knit night, and they had a, it was like a, I guess you would call it a stole type of, or a wrap. It's like an oversized long rectangular scarf, but it's deep enough that it can go around your shoulders. So I guess it would be a stole. Anyway, they had this in this sparkly gold glittery yarn that was really, really pretty. So I went wandering because I like any kind of bling. I do like shiny things. And I got these. So these are not the same color. One, there you can see them. They're silver. They're very sparkly, as you can see it. And I might take and make the Yexa shawl once again, but make it in the two colors it was intended, but do it in sparkliness. There you can see the colors really well. Yeah, the yarn shop owner said, you do know that's not the same two colors. Those are two different colors. I said, yep, I know it. I'm going to put them together. So I don't know if that's the shawl pattern I'm going to use or not, but won't that look pretty for Christmas? I could sparkle like the Christmas tree. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I bought. It is called Jewel. Oh, there we go. It's called Jewel. It is 100% acrylic. It's really soft. I don't know if I can show this to you, if it'll come up or not. It's not going to show it. It's woven. It's not like plied. It's literally like a woven type of yarn. You know what I'm talking about. But it is 100% acrylic, 270 yards. It says hand wash, lay flat to dry. US 6 to 8, so it will work perfect with the Yexa shawl. Because I think it uses a size 6 or 7, maybe an 8. Right in that ballpark, so this would work with it. And it has enough yardage to use with it as well. So that might be what this turns into. So it is called Jewel. It is by, it's made in Turkey. And this dye lot, it doesn't have a color, it just says color 149. I think they come up with a name for it, but they didn't. And it is, oh, they covered it over on their label. Is this one covered over? I'm trying to read you what kind of label, or what kind of yarn it's from. And look, right here. They covered it over. Let me peel back the label and see if I can tell you what the yarn company is. See if I can do this without ripping it all to pieces. It looks like it says Feza. I think it's Feza, F-E-Z-A. I think it's Feza yarn, but you can see I tried doing it and just ripped the label to pieces. Anyway, I think it's made by Feza, but it's called Jewel. And it's really pretty. And it's very soft. It's not, sometimes when you get sparkly things, in yarn, it tends to be a little scratchy, but this isn't. So that's the one thing I bought, was those two. And then I've had my eye on this for a while because I love these colors. As you can tell, this is, see if you can see it. It's got purples. There we go. It's got purples and different shades of turquoise. And like it looks yellow in the picture, but it's actually kind of a mint green or pistachio type of green. Sometimes this light is good, sometimes it's not. There we go. It is a Ella Rae Cozy Soft Print. It is a machine washable wool blend. 75% acrylic, 25% wool. Has 213 yards in it. I have no clue what I'm making with this. I'm thinking it's going to be some kind of a cowl, maybe, or like a head ear warmer type of thing. But yeah, it's pretty. I like these colors. I just wish there we go. Now you can see it really, really well. It matches my shirt. You can't tell much, but it does. It matches my shirt. My lighting is really, really bright tonight. So anyway, I'm not sure what this is going to turn into, but it's extremely soft. I actually used the Cozy Soft Chunky when I made my shawl. It's called the Shades of Wicklow. That was made, was it made that? No, it was my, on the Spice Market. The gray on my On the Spice Market is made with this. And I think it's the same weight and everything. So, I have knit with this yarn before, and it's really, really nice to knit with. So, that is what I have for this week, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you again next Saturday. And again, Jocelyn, get in contact with me through Ravelry and let me know your Ravelry name, and we will get the pattern out to you. So, and congratulations on winning. And I will see you all again next week. Thanks a lot for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, click the subscribe button below. If you liked what you saw, give me a thumbs up. Thanks a lot. Bye.